everybody, and welcome to WTF Hammer Underworlds. Today I just wanted to put out a video that could be useful to anybody, whether or not you currently play Warhammer Underworlds, or whether or not you're just considering purchasing the newest season that's coming out, that being Season 4, Warhammer Underworlds Direchasm. Just help people get a bigger picture of what this game is, how it has looked historically, what direction it's probably going to be going into in the future, to help people make a decision about whether or not this would be a worthwhile purchase for them. So in other words, should you buy Direchasm? So let's just start with what we know so far about this game. Well, we know it's going to be released in December 2020. I don't think the specific date has been mentioned yet, but maybe it'll line up with Christmas time. Either way, it makes for a good holiday purchase if you decide to purchase this either for yourself or for somebody else. The contents. Now, this box for the core game of Direchasm contains 2 new warbands, that being the Lumineth Realm Lords warband and the Hedonites of Slaanesh warbands, both which come with a full set of faction-specific cards, so 12 upgrade cards and 20 power cards. This box also comes with 2 double-sided game boards, 42 new universal cards which can be used with any warband, 1 primacy card which must be some kind of additional game rule that hasn't been revealed yet, and then just other necessities like 11 dice, 129 tokens, and of course the rules. We also know, based on announcements and based on previous seasons, that there will eventually be 6 new warbands released with Season 4 over the course of the year. One of those warbands will be Seraphon. And if the past is any indicator, each of these warbands will be released with a new set of universal cards as well. And also, if they follow the trend of previous seasons, we can expect that they would release more cards in separate card packs and an additional double-sided board, and possibly something additional too. So for example, in Season 3, they released Arena Mortis as a special game mode. Maybe something like that will come out in Season 4 as well. So Direchasm is just Season 4 of a larger gaming system called Warhammer Underworlds. I just want to give you a little bit of a summary about what Warhammer Underworlds is all about. So Warhammer Underworlds is the ultimate competitive miniature game. That's the title they give themselves, and I would have to say that I agree with it. It involves deck building and tactical grid miniature battles. It also involves a lot of play variety. So since we're going into Season 4, there's already 26 released warbands, and obviously 8 pending during Season 4, which will make for a total of 34 available warbands once the season is finished being released. And of course, each warband has its own unique playstyle. And each warband also comes with a number of miniatures, which are all very beautiful, very nice. And just all in all, this game has a lot of potential considering the epicness of the variety. So I would say that this game could be more epic in terms of its diversity, if not for the main underlying issue of this game, which is an issue of balancing. In fact, I say that the balancing issues heavily undermine the game's potential. It could be much better, considering that there are numerous warbands, like I mentioned, 26 going on 34. But unfortunately, there are not numerous competitive warbands. There are probably less than 10 currently that I would say can consistently be successful in competitions. And unfortunately, there's been virtually no initiative by Games Workshop to support warbands from earlier seasons, sort of just leaving them high and dry and in the dust. And this is mostly because there's a certain degree of power creep, which basically just means that newer warbands tend to be stronger than previous seasons' warbands, which is a little bit odd in the case of Warhammer Underworlds, and unnecessary because this game has a sales model in which universal cards are sold with warbands. So in order to get the best cards, you have to buy all the warbands anyway, so there's really not much of a need to make one warband more powerful than the next to encourage people to buy the new warband. So I don't completely understand why this power creep exists, but it does exist. So that basically summarizes the balancing issues. The last point I want to talk about for new potential consumers of this game is the pricing. So Warhammer Underworlds is a fairly pricey game to purchase. I'm actually going to be going through all the costs of all the products that have come out since Season 1 has come out, so you can kind of see how the product has evolved and how the pricing has also unfortunately evolved. So you can see from Season 1, when the core game came out, it costed $60. It was called Shadespire. Then each additional warband costed $30. Towards the end of the year, they released an additional card pack called Leaders for $18, which was a great deal, came with 60 cards, and they released a Shattered City board pack, which was $25, which was a bit pricey considering it was just a slab of cardboard. But either way, the total price in US dollars was $283 for the season, which came out over the course of a year, and basically gave 8 warbands, 497 cards, 1 extra board, as well as the core contents. So that being the boards themselves, the dice, the tokens, all that kind of stuff. And since Season 1's release, because of card rotation to keep things fresh, all the universal cards from Season 1 have since rotated out, that being 249 cards that are no longer usable. The Shattered City board pack also rotated out. So in the current meta, the only thing that remains from Season 1 that's actually playable at the competitive level is 8 warbands, their faction-specific cards, as well as the core contents of the box, of course. And this will trickle us into Season 2, which actually had very similar pricing. No prices were augmented in this season. Core box was $60, each new warband was $30. They had a card pack that came out for $15, which was nice, although it had fewer than 60 cards. They had an additional card pack that costed $20, and then an additional board pack, which costed $25, just like the previous season. So prices basically stayed the same. Came out to a total of $300 in order to buy all of Season 2's functional products. But it came with more cards. There were 555 cards in this season as opposed to 497 from the previous season. And currently all the cards are still functional, but once Season 4 rolls around, all the 299 universal cards will rotate out and will no longer be usable. The board will probably be rotated out if the Shattered City board pack is any indicator from Season 1. So we can expect that the total portions of this product that will still be usable in competitive play will be the 8 warbands, their faction-specific cards, as well as the core contents of the box, assuming the boards from the core box don't eventually rotate out, which is not clear. And this brings us into Season 3, Beastgrave, where the pricing became a little bit less favorable for the consumer. So actually, before Season 3 came out, there was a special product released by Barnes & Nobles called Dreadfane, which was pretty nice. It just involved 2 warbands with a special board and a different way of playing the game for $50, which people may have bought or may not have bought, but I'll get back to that later. As far as the official Season 3 content goes, the core box was $70 instead of $60, so that was a 17% price increase. The first 4 warbands that came out were priced according to Season 1 and 2, being $30. But the last 2 did take a price hike, going to $35 with a 17% increase, which could be attributed to coronavirus and the fact that all their products were put on hold for a while. But regardless, I don't expect warbands to be cheaper now in the seasons to come. Also, before coronavirus took place, they had released a gift pack, which was a really crappy deal, which involved 32 cards, most of which were just recycled cards from Season 1 that you had to buy in order to get the few new universal cards that were released with the gift pack. And they charged $35, which was very atrocious and costed somewhere between 75% to 150% more than previous card packs. They also released Champions of Dreadfane before the pandemic, which was basically just a watered-down version of the original Dreadfane that only provided the 2 warbands without all the special and fun Dreadfane rules, but they charged more than the original Dreadfane box sold during the summer. 11% more expensive for less product, which was definitely a dirty move by Games Workshop. And finally, they also released Arena Mortis, which involves special rules, a board, 40 cards for $45, which is actually pretty comparable to the previous season's prices. Overall price was $340, 20% more than the cost for Season 1 Shadespire. And obviously this was more if people decided to get the additional 2 warbands, which brought the total price for the season somewhere between $389.95 to $395, depending on if you bought Champions of Dreadfane or Dreadfane itself. And what we can expect to happen based on previous seasons is eventually all the universal cards will rotate out, that being the 254 universal cards of Beastgrave. The new board from Arena Mortis probably will eventually rotate out as well. And what will remain in the long run will be the 10 warbands, the 320 faction-specific cards that came with those warbands, as well as the core contents of the box. Once again, assuming that the boards in the core boxes don't eventually rotate out as well. Final point I want to mention here are the accessory items. So sleeves, warband dice, playmats, terrain, these sorts of things, which have fluctuated in price as well between the seasons. So increasing by 56% for the price of the sleeves, 25% for the price of the warband dice. Although the cost of playmats and terrain has reduced, which is nice. And that basically summarizes all the pricing that we are currently aware of. So what can we expect when it comes to Season 4 Direchasm? Well, I'm confident that we can expect that Direchasm will cost $70 at least, because that's the cost of Beastgrave, and I highly doubt they're going to reduce the price back down to $60. The two latest Beastgrave warbands costed $35 each, so we can expect that that will be the minimum price for each additional warband that comes out for Season 4. If there's an extra card pack, I mean, $20 is sort of the minimum we can expect. Board pack minimum cost would be $25 that we can expect. So total, for the same value of product, should cost about $325, assuming there are no additional products being released with Direchasm, versus $283 for the cost of the Season 1 content. So we can basically expect a 15% minimum increase in the cost for Season 4 compared to Season 1. And then people buying this product also have to keep in mind that their universal cards will eventually rotate out 2 years later. Their extra board will rotate out 2 years later, and that the warbands may eventually become obsolete due to that power creep that I described, assuming we go on to Season 5, 6, 7, 8, depending on how long this game continues to roll forward. So I hope that this was useful information for people considering buying Direchasm. Just to sort of conclude and reiterate what I've been talking about, Warhammer Underworlds is a very fun and competitive game. There's lots of play variety, and there's lots of potential. However, balancing issues do undermine this game's potential, unfortunately. And the game is costly. The prices have continued to rise, and hopefully they will not continue to rise, but they might. And a large proportion of the product you purchase will eventually become obsolete for competitive play. So on a personal note, I actually really like this game, and I plan to continue buying into this game into Season 4, possibly further on, depending on how the game develops. And I hope that this was a useful synopsis of this game, of the price point of this game, and of the history of this game. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, please comment below. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, and I hope you all have a nice day.